Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the first City Council meeting of February. With that, I would like to say a Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. McNally, would you please say the pledge?
Roll call.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. That's okay.
Ready to get to business.
Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach held Tuesday, February 1st, 2022 at 7 p.m. We have a roll call. Councilmember Postoli.
Present.
Councilmember Lester.
Here.
Councilmember Bendo.
Present.
Vice President Treston.
Here.
President McGinnis.
Present.
Let the record indicate the presence of City Manager Donna Gaydon and Corporation Counsel Richard Barrios. We'll now have a salute to the flag.
Mr. McNally, would you please say the pledge?
Sure thing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. First off, we'd like to wish everyone a happy Lunar New Year. This is the year of the tiger, which is a symbol of courage and strength, which is definitely something that all Long Beachers have. After that, I just want to on behalf of the entire council, just say, and the residents, say thank you to the city staff for all their hard work this past weekend, preparing for the snowstorm and digging us out. We appreciate all this time and sacrifice that you made, and thank you. We really appreciate you. With that, I'll hand it over to City Manager Gaydon.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Mr. John McNally will be our only speaker for tonight.
And I will be brief. Thank you, City Manager Gaydon. I just wanted to give a quick COVID update. Some of the numbers are a little bit lagging, so we're in better shape than many of the numbers actually presently show. As of January 26th, 71.4% of Long Beach's total population has been fully vaccinated. As of the week ending January 24th, so this data is about a week old, there were 224 new cases of COVID in Long Beach. That equates to 0.95 cases per day per 1,000 residents. That is, at least at that time, about average for where Nassau County was, but Suffolk County has been able to update their data much more recently than Nassau, and their trends are showing those numbers cut basically in half. So everything is trending in the right direction. Hospitalizations are down to almost pre-surge levels. The positivity rate for Long Island currently stands at 7.58% compared to 5.92% statewide. But those numbers also are going down daily. So we are, I think, moving in the right direction and remain optimistic that hopefully we're about to put this thing in the past. That's all I've got.
For tonight, that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Can I ask a question, John, please?
Of course.
When you said that Suffolk has updated their numbers more frequently or more recently than Nassau, how old are our numbers?
Our numbers, so our most recent data, and this is, I pull it from Nassau County, who's worked in I pull it from Newsday, who has worked in partnership with the county's health departments throughout the pandemic. So Suffolk counties, I want to say, were from like the 29th. So there's only like a 2-day lag on it. And their numbers, I mean, I could show you and I'll send you the link to it. You can look at the map. It's color coded and shows like a heat map of how many cases there are per municipality. They use shades of blue. Suffolk County is very light blue at this stage of the game, where Nassau County, the data is approximately a week older. Are very dark blue. So just the difference in the week has been very meaningful in terms of, you know, we saw a very quick spike up in these cases. And as everybody predicted, we've seen a very quick drop down in that spike that's commensurate with the increase. So We're about a week behind in reporting on the data.
Right. And the hospitalizations are following?
The hospitalizations are absolutely following it. I mean, everything lags approximately 2 weeks. That's how the virus works. But the hospitalizations, the numbers I quoted were really for Suffolk County because we have that same lag with Nassau County numbers.
Yes.
But the hospitalizations, one has to presume, Suffolk County as a whole has had higher numbers than Nassau County throughout the pandemic, lower vaccination rates than Nassau County throughout the pandemic. So the presumption is, and it's always foolhardy to make presumptions, but the presumptions is that we're tracking in the same direction.
Okay, thank you.
You got it.
I had one question. President McGinnis, can I ask?
Yes.
Mr. McNally? Thank you. I just, John, I know a little bit back from when I was on the school board, we worked a little bit on this to try to assess numbers from South Nassau, just to see, when capacities were being reached and things like that. I know now we're in a good, seemingly good place, but at the height of things, is there any report out from South Nassau to say, X amount capacity or anything?
Yeah, we've checked in with all of the hospitals, and it's when hospitals they look at percent of available ICU beds and beds in general. We were looking at more than 50% of our local hospitalizations beds were going to COVID patients in terms of ICU, but we never got south of 25% of beds being available. So conversely, there was always at least 25% of ICU beds available for anybody. So we never got into that crunch, at least in this surge, of having a shortage of beds.
Great, thank you.
You bet.
Okay. I think we're ready for the agenda, Dave.
Okay. Our first item is a public hearing for an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding motor vehicles and traffic and vehicles for hire.
Evening, Rich Barris, Corporation Counsel. As included in your packets and what's been made available to the public today, we have some small amendments to chapters 15 and chapters 24 of the Code of Ordinances. With regard to the prices that are indicated therein, those prices are indicated or referenced to be a cap on what people who are charged with towing or impound can actually be charged by the tow companies. The purpose of that cap is to kind of dissuade or prevent predatory tow prices in that respect. The other amendment you'll see is the removal of the rotational tow list fee. Rationale for that is the city will be moving towards a single vendor tow system. More to come on that. And as far as where the prices came from, the prices were basically modeled off of neighboring municipalities, Town of Hempstead, Rockville Center, Freeport, etc. Here for any questions. Commissioner Walsh is in case.
Thank you, Rich. So so we can start off with the items on the agenda tonight. The council has been asking questions to the staff regarding the agenda items. We have about 11 pages of questions and answers that we got over the past few days, which some for this item, Rich has already summarized in his presentation. With that said, I'd like to ask the council if anyone still has any questions.
Yeah, I do have a question.
Roy, please proceed.
Yes. Okay, Rich, what happens if somebody is overcharged? What can they do?
Can you clarify what, Rich, can you also clarify what overcharged means?
So for overcharging, you mean in the sense that if any vendor here in the city overcharges them based on the caps we set? Is that the question?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so it's an enforcement question, right? So the idea would be, and Commissioner Walsh, correct me if I'm wrong, you'd have to have a complaint from someone who's been kind of wronged by the tow company, and then there'd have to be some sort of follow-up by either PD or my office in that regard.
So who would they go to, Rich? That's
Commissioner Walsh?
Yeah, generally, probably what would happen in that case, Roy, is we would get the complaint at the police department. We would do a case report on it. then we would go up to Dave Frazier, and Dave would rescind their tow license for the city for overcharging.
But they would, if somebody asked me, well, what do I do? I would say, you call the police department, correct?
They can call the police department, they can go to Dave, and Dave would direct them to us, but either one of those two, but the police department would take a case report on it, and they could be cited actually for not following the city ordinance. It's not a fine, it will be a rescinding of their ability to tow cars in the city. They no longer be allowed to tow here.
Okay.
Roy,
Thank
did you have any other questions?
No.
Any other council members? Okay. Do we go to the public now?
Yes, and at this time, I have no hands raised from the public.
Okay.
No hands raised. Want to move along? We can close. You can close the hearing. You wish to close? Yeah, you need to close the hearing.
Yes.
Okay. All right. On to the regular calendar. Item 1 is the approval of minutes from prior meetings of January 4th, 2022 and January 18th, 2022. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Voting, Councilmember Postley,
Yes.
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo,
Yes.
Vice President Treston,
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Oh, and I forgot to announce, folks, items 3 and 5 have been removed from the agenda. Items 3 and 5 are off the calendar. Okay, on to our second item, ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding motor vehicles and traffic and vehicles for hire. A hearing has been held on this item already. Item 3 has been taken off the calendar. Item 4 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to accept and execute a grant on behalf of the City of Long Beach from the New York State Department of State.
And who will?
That would be Patty Bourne.
Good evening, Patty.
Good evening, everyone. The City of Long Beach applied for a grant from the New York State Department of State, and we received it. It's for $90,000, $90,100. The match is fortunately all in kind. There's no cash match, and that means that the match will be by staff and volunteer time because we anticipate having a number of public meetings, and we can count the number of people that attend the meetings. Why do we want this grant? Well, the local waterfront revitalization program allows us to plan for our waterfront. And New York State encourages Long Beach to look into this program and execute a plan because we're surrounded by water and we have different issues on the bayfront than we do on the ocean front. So the important thing for tonight is this is a contract which, if approved by the city council, will allow the city manager to sign the contract, to execute the contract so we can send it to the state. And it's important to do that now because we've been told by the state that they need to reserve to secure the funds, that if we don't do it now, they can't promise it. But the project will not start right away. We start the project not until the summer, and we have 5 years to use up the funds. And that makes sense because right now we're starting our comprehensive plan update. So we want to finish that, get our general aspirations and goals and objectives in place and adopted by the city council, and then look more specifically at the waterfront areas. And of course, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Patty. We didn't get too many questions on this from the council to date, but I did ask that if you could please forward the council the city's 2007 plan, which was not accepted by the state, and the obsolete 2015 plan, just for our reference, so we can get a better understanding of how this works. And that would obviously be posted on the website as well.
Of course, we'd be happy to do that.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions? Okay.
I do.
Okay, Roy?
Yes. Patty, you said that the in-kind can be either employees of the city or volunteers, and you expect a lot because of the that the people will come to the meetings. I'm not sure what you mean. Does that count? If somebody shows up at a meeting, does it count as in kind?
Yes. So we would, I did mention the purpose of the funds would be to hire a consultant, and staff would of course have to manage the consultant, and their time make sure they do what we need them to do, so that our time is counted. The other part of the volunteer, the residents' time and business people's time, is that if they attend a meeting, the state says we sign them in, that we can count them at about $25 an hour per person. So when you add up all the people that come to meetings, that is part of our in-kind match.
Wow. Okay. So we really have to get people out of the meetings.
Or Zoom.
Free pizza. All right. Thanks.
Great.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the council? Okay. Any questions from the public, Dave?
I have no hands raised at this time.
Great. Okay.
Next item. Right. Item 5 has been taken off the agenda. Item 6 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for full service elevator maintenance and repair from the lowest responsible bidder.
That would be Commissioner Fabrizio.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Joe.
Can you see me?
No.
Why is that not working? All right, well, I'm going to put...
If you could just speak a little louder if you can, please.
Just 1 second. I moved them up.
Okay.
Reconnect. Joe, go ahead. You can turn it on now. There you go.
Okay, this is a resolution authorizing the city manager into a contract for full service elevator maintenance and repair from the lowest responsible bidder. There were 5 bids received in the Office of Purchasing on Tuesday, 11th, 2022 at 11 a.m. This is a contract is for a 5-year term. It basically, the low bidder was Dynasty Elevator Corp., 1460 Broadway, New York, New York, and their bid was $20,400 annually. Now, this bid is for 5 passenger elevators, 2 chairlift elevators, and 1 pool lift elevator. They're located at the following locations: at 1 Westchester Street, which is this building. There's 2 main elevators, which take you from the lobby to the 6th floor, and the 2 chairlifts on the 6th floor. At 650 Magnolia, there's 1 elevator there. At the Recreation Center, there's 1 ADA mechanical pool elevator. One question that came up from the council is the elevator that takes you from the main lobby to the pool deck incorporated in this? No, it is not. That's a separate contract with Handy Lift. That's a separate company that's in contract for. The next one is at 150 West Bay Drive. That's Ice Arena. There's 1 elevator there. And at 615 Riverside, which is the MLK Center, there's 1 elevator there. Dynasty is going to replace Unitech Elevator, who previously held the contract. Just for your information, their bid on this contract was $21,600. Based on a check of the references, Dynasty Elevator Corp. is a reputable contractor. They perform contracts of similar size and scope. Therefore, I recommend awarding the contract to Dynasty. If you have any questions,
Thank you, Joe. There were a few questions on this. I just wanted to mention my question had to do with the fact that if within the 5-year terms we divested from one of the buildings, i.e. sold it so that we didn't own it anymore, would we be able to get a price adjustment? Council Barrio said that we would then, if that happened, we would negotiate an amendment to lower the price. Council, do you have any questions?
Yes, I have a couple.
John, did you have questions? Yeah, it's John's turn to go first this time.
It
right?
certainly is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joe, just to clarify, this does include the contract preventive maintenance, not just corrective, right?
Yes, there is preventative maintenance is incorporated in the contract. That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Roy.
Okay. First of all, Joe, you got 4 bids on this. Thank you. You.
It had nothing to do with me, but I'll take the compliment. This was
Thank you again.
This was through
Um,
purchasing, so.
Okay, I guess, I looked at them and the one thing that does concern me is the dynasty. If we need them to come out for something that's not covered, and I'm not quite sure what would be not covered, but I believe if a light goes out and stuff like that, they don't cover the lights and stuff. But if we just get a regular field technician during the day when it's not double in price or 50% more in price, is a minimum of 2 hours for the field technician and 2 hours of traveling. So we're talking about $1,040 for the first hour, so to speak, or the first 10 minutes or whatever it is. What has your experience been in the labor rates outside of a regular maintenance contract?
Yeah, I mean, it's typically not something we utilize. It's a mechanism. It gives us a mechanism if there is something, above and beyond what would be considered normal maintenance. It gives us a mechanism to work out a proposal, with the vendor to undertake the repair. It's not something that is used frequently, but it's not uncommon to have like an hourly rate, with the mechanic to undertake repairs that would not be considered maintenance or even preventative maintenance. But again, it's not something that we utilize. It's really just to give us a mechanism. And I have that like in other contracts we use too. Like we have a street lighting contract, and it's based on, there's unit prices in there, and there's also typical items to say replace a fixture. But we also have in that contract, we have an hourly rate for an electrician in case there's something that doesn't fall maybe within the maintenance, in this case, preventative maintenance. So we have a mechanism to pay. Could
you give me an example of something that we
use it so infrequently? I'm not an elevator expert, quite honestly, so it's not something we utilize that often. So I don't really have a good example for you, unfortunately.
Joe, isn't it correct that usually in contracts like this, they make those exceptional rates punitive to discourage the client from calling them for any single thing, so that you would call it only if you really need it?
Yeah, right, exactly. Like they couldn't use that rate unless we requested. In other words, they would go there and say, you know what, this isn't covered on the maintenance. This isn't considered preventive maintenance. They would show me, and I'm really just spitballing here, like, come look in the elevator shaft.
Right.
Look at the condition of the cable there. That cable has to be replaced. That pulls the elevator up and down. And then of course that's not considered maintenance, right? That would be something that is a little above and beyond, I would think. Just like when we did during the last round, we actually replaced the elevators under the Unitech contract. That was like a special project that we did under their contract. And we came up with a unit price that ended up being, in that case, like $300,000. But now that contract is the reason that you have working elevators today.
Right. Okay, John, Danny, or Liz, Tina, do you have any questions? Okay. Any questions from the public?
I have no hands raised at this time.
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
All right. Okay. Next item is item 7, resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for EMS ambulance billing and collection services from the most responsible bidder.
That's Commissioner Miller.
Hello, Commissioner.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, and you?
Good. This is a contract for the city entering for billing collections for EMS ambulance service. City could put the contract out to bid. We received 3 bids on it. The evaluation committee reviewed it. The committee suggested that Multimed was the one that came out on top. While we were meeting, we negotiated with Multimed and lowered the commission another percent. From there, we have a 3-year contract with them with the option to extend it for 2 additional 1-year terms. And And again, we've been with Multi-Med for about 22 years now. They've been faithfully helping us collect the money.
Okay, great. Does anyone from the council have any questions?
I'll let Roy go first this time.
No,
Roy,
John, I'm
Go ahead.
just quicker.
Go ahead.
All right. Joe, how much does the billing service collect for us each year?
I do not have those numbers in front of me. That would have to go through the controller's office.
And they get 5%?
Currently, they were getting 6. With the new contract, it'll be 5%.
Okay. Donna, at some point, could we get those numbers? Thank you.
okay, John?
Yeah,
Yes.
I just do we compare the reports we get from the vendor with the fire department call logs as a kind of a QA on the billing?
Honestly, I'm not exactly sure at this moment if we do. I'll have to look into that and get back to you on it.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions from the council? No? From the public?
No hands raised at this time.
Okay.
All right. Next item is item 8, resolution authorizing the retention of outside counsel.
Is that Rich?
Yes.
Good evening again. As the resolution indicates, this is authorizing the retention of outside counsels, Sokolov and Stern, LLP. Primary purpose of this is to act as special counsel to defend the city and its officers in a case recently commenced in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of New York, docket 21 CV 07182, at an hourly rate of $235 for partners, $200 per hour for associates, and $100 per hour for paralegal time. Happy to field any questions from the council.
As council, do you recommend that we pass this resolution?
I do recommend moving forward with the retention of this particular firm, yes.
Thank you, Rich. Council, do you have any questions?
President McGinnis.
Yeah.
Rich, when would so the actual work, passing this tonight and time proceeding to when the attorneys would begin, is there like a stopgap? Is it immediate? Is it you know what I mean? Does it then just begin?
Meaning, does the rubber hit the road immediately?
Yeah, that's
no.
it.
If the council approves this today, the retainer will be executed, and then I will have a follow-up meeting with outside counsel on the case, and then proceed in an orderly fashion. Basically, nothing's going to happen right away. We're going to conference first and go over some particulars, but it's not going to be full bore. I don't anticipate full bore right out the gate.
Rich, could you explain how or who or how the time expended by the lawyers would be managed by the city?
So essentially, if in this particular case, if it's any outside firm, usually when I retain outside counsel, like for labor, for example, I basically direct the work, I guide the work, I monitor and audit their billing. So they're not supposed to work unless I tell them to work.
Well, that's good to know. Okay. Any other questions from the council?
Rich, do you think is there a reason we could not explain more to the public why we're hiring additional attorneys?
I think there are some legal considerations that I'm not necessarily. I don't know if we can disclose certain things, right, with regard to legal advice. As far as why we're retaining this particular firm, it's to defend for this particular case, right? They're also The retainer also includes some provisions where they can be used for other things, like federal cases, PI cases, etc. But for this particular case, it's just, I can't really say much more than that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Dave, do we have any questions from the public?
Yes, we do. Robin Donovan.
Hello, Robin.
Yeah, Ms. Donovan, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, Ms. McGinnis. How are you?
Good, and you?
Good. I'd just like to know what the basis of.
Robin,
Oh.
this is Liz. Just for protocol, could you please just give your name and address?
Oh, okay. My name is Robin Donovan, and I'm a resident of Long Beach. I just would like to know what the basis of the lawsuit is. Thank you.
So this is a federal claim. It is a public document. Everyone can look it up, but it's sounding in, I'm sorry, I don't have the complaint up, but there's a couple of causes of action in there. Let me just.
I thought it was the complainant's violation of his First and 14th Amendments rights.
Those are two of them. I believe that should be it. My apologies. I thought I had it up. There we go. So 63-page complaint. Sounding in. First and 14th Amendment violations.
So I was right. Okay.
We got it right.
All right. Does that answer your question, Robin?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions, Dave?
Yes, Kathleen O'Leary.
Hello, Kathleen.
Hello there. Kathleen O'Leary, Long Beach. I just want to echo Roy's question. We tend to hire outside counsel quite a bit, considering that we have corporation counsel that is already on staff. Why exactly is it that corporation counsel cannot handle this? I see this firm on TV all the time. I don't know anything about them, but you know, why are they so special and we can't handle it? I'm not getting it.
I just want to maybe say, I don't know if can't handle the case is the right word.
Okay.
Rich, can you expound upon that?
Sure. I mean, listen, in the regular course of business, corporation counsel has always retained outside counsel for certain portions of litigation. We are very lucky to have some very seasoned litigators with us in our office, right? So Mr. Geiger, who I think you've all met, handles a large portion of our personal injury cases and is really wonderful at that. I've litigated some cases as well, but in the normal course of business, my predecessors before them have utilized outside counsel for litigation. Reason being, Ms. O'Leary, that litigation just takes up a lot of time. And to be a true in-house counsel and to be able to, wear a bunch of hats and to deal with other departments, we do rely on outside counsel to handle, labor-intensive litigation. I hope that helps.
Okay, I know we have done this before, and I understand what you're saying about litigation, but the other side of it is it's extremely expensive. Those rates are reasonable, but as time goes by and the hours accumulate and so forth, it's very expensive to the city to hire outside counsel. That's the other side of it.
I understood completely. And with that, part of litigation is also resolving disputes, right? Litigation is just one method to do that. We engage in litigation. We also engage in settlement discussions and negotiations and arbitrations and mediations, all in an effort to reduce costs to the city. Unfortunately, litigation is one expensive, nasty part of it all, but it's the nature of the beast.
Okay. Thank you, Rich.
No problem.
Thank you, Kathleen.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, Dave?
Eileen Hessian.
Hello, Eileen.
All right.
Hello, all. I just have a question. How many lawyers do we employ full-time in corporation counsel?
Eileen, before your question is answered, just for protocol, could you just give your
Yes,
name?
Eileen Hessian, Long Beach, New York. Thank you.
Other question. Including myself, there are 4 attorneys total.
Okay, I agree with Kathleen. It's a very expensive thing to always go outside. Thank you.
How many disciplines, Rich, are there within the legal profession or types of lawyers? Specializations, rather.
Miles and miles and miles and miles of legal text. I feel like a law student here every day. So yeah, the practice runs the gamut from slip and falls to federal claims to constitutional claims to zoning claims. And we deal with everything pretty much except family law here. So to be a specialist in all of those, we probably, one option is to hire an army of attorneys to work here full time, or we can rely on outside counsel, right? That's
or a combination thereof.
Combination thereof. We're trying to do the dance.
Thank you. Any more, Dave?
Nope, that was all. No other hands raised at this time.
Before you go to the next one, Roy, you wanted to know how much we made in the ambulance fees?
Yes.
And 18, $1 million, 19, 1.1, and 20, it was almost $1.1 million. And we projected about $1.1 million for this budget.
Now, does that go into the general fund, or does that
No,
go
general
towards
fund.
the ambulance? Oh, okay.
General fund.
Yeah.
Fire department is in the general fund.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Okay, next item is item 9, resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 21-22 fiscal year.
That would be Commissioner Fabrizio. The next two.
Good evening, everyone, again. This is a resolution authorizing the city to perform a routine transfer of funds in the amount of $80,000 from the beach maintenance equipment lease line to their municipal building repairs line. The municipal building repairs line is basically the mechanism to fund materials for the repair of all city buildings. There's currently only $37,000 remaining in their current budget line to get them through the end of the fiscal year. Their original budget was $200,000. Just for your information, when they did their budget last year, they did ask for $400,000 in preparation of their budget because it's been historically exceeded. So we're trying to, hopefully this year, we're going to sit down with the city controller, and we are going to request more money be put into this again because it is used to fund repairs for all of the city buildings. Based on discussions with our director of operations, funding can be transferred from the leasing line because the equipment that was originally scheduled to be leased in the current fiscal year is on back order due to COVID. So we actually can use the money to supplement the repair line. Do you have any questions?
Any questions, council?
Yes.
Roy?
Okay. Joe, I'm trying to understand this. The vehicle repairs are basically for the snow removal vehicles. How old are those vehicles?
I think that's the next item.
That's the next item, Roy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Item 10 is we're replenishing the snow repair line, snowplow repair line. This is for we're replenishing our building.
Oh, the building. This is the building repairs.
Correct.
Okay. Now, originally, when we had a budget for the building repair.
Correct. We had $200,000 in that budget to start the year. Right.
Was that for all the buildings?
That's for every single building. So if you need a toilet, or if you need any sort of piping, if you need a door, if you need, it runs the gamut. We do the work in-house, but all the materials are purchased through that line. So you can imagine, it's really the clear all for anything that the beach maintenance department purchases, because they are in charge of buildings as well, in addition to the beaches. That's another hat that they wear.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't sound for all the buildings that was a realistic cost. And seeing now that you're adding this additional money, it appears that it was under budgeted.
I agree with you. And I think our director of operations would agree with you as well. And this all goes back to one of the city manager's fundamental requests when we're preparing the new budgets is to do realistic budgeting. and that's my message too, to when I'm sitting down for the new budget talks. In other words, we're the ones who are going to be here asked to explain ourselves, when a budget line, runs over. So we're hoping that our requests in the future are honored. So if we need $400,000, and historically we spend around $400,000, well, $400,000 should be in the budget, so we're not in this situation when we have to find money from other sources to fill the budget gap.
So this
Also, I want to make a statement. Also, it has to do with allocation. We are now allocating expenses to the right line item. So when they came before to ask for additional $400,000, history did not show that $400,000 was needed in that line item. So Roy, what they're doing is they're learning the proper way to budget. So it has to do a lot with where they were allocating expenses in prior years to allocating into what we consider the correct line item now.
All right, so that was one of my questions. Was it an event that caused this additional money, or
I think it's more allocation. I think it's more allocation.
Okay, I didn't want to say that, but
allocating it to the right line items versus other line items that has been done in the past.
well, it sounds to me like it was under budgeting too for these particular repairs. I mean, I know what it costs to repair my house, and for all the buildings in the city, $200,000 seems like,
Yeah, I think to your point, it seemed like there was, it was slightly under budgeted, and they've identified it, and now they're correcting it, and going forward they will budget accordingly. So it's
interestingly enough, we have our budget meeting tomorrow with the beach maintenance department, who oversees the buildings, and this is one of the topics that is front and center in our discussions tomorrow, is to talk about this line specifically.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
John, did you have a question?
I do. Joe, considering, like you said, you're saying next year you're clearly going to need more money, maybe in the $400,000 range. Do we have buildings that, quite frankly, we're putting more money into trying to keep them, maintain them, than it might cost to replace them?
I mean, we certainly have some very old buildings that need a lot of TLC. I don't know if they're to the point where we would say, okay, we just abandon them. Actually, I have to say, we did do, I don't know if you've been to our sewer maintenance building at the wastewater treatment plant. That is one building where our sewer maintenance personnel were, where it was so bad that we've actually moved the whole sewer department into street maintenance, and that building right now is abandoned. And to your point, that building is likely to be sold and taken out of, so it's not a burden on our city anymore. So we won't be spending money there. So that's one example of one that we can remove. That won't be a burden anymore. But the other ones, again, you do have to, it's just, a lot of the buildings just do require maintenance. Go to a bathroom on the 6th floor, you'll see that's one of the things that was slated to remove. Any repairs that have to be done on that 6th floor bathroom, ladies' room, that, where the tile's falling off the wall and the ceiling is falling in, that's where we use the building repair line. We'll buy sheetrock, we'll buy mortar, we'll buy plastic, that's the mechanism to fund any repair in any building.
Okay.
Don, are we addressing, John, thank you. Don, are we addressing this overall where we're looking at all of our real estate, taking a hard look at our properties?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Joe. Any other questions from the council? Okay, from the public?
I have no hands raised at this time.
Great.
Okay. So, and item 10 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 2021-22 fiscal year.
Joe?
Yes, we meet again. This is a resolution authorizing the city to perform a routine transfer of funds in the amount of $30,000 from the central garage equipment rentals line to their vehicle repair line. The snow removal vehicle repairs line is currently exhausted. There's no money left in it. The transfer will allow the city central garage to acquire the necessary parts to repair the plows in the city's fleet. Repairs are performed in-house by the city's highly trained mechanics. The The snow removal rental line is going to be reduced to $30,000 as a result of this transfer. There was $60,000. There's $60,000 in it now. Once we take this money out, there'll be 30. I've discussed this with the department, and they have informed me that this is satisfactory for the remainder of the fiscal year. Do you have any questions?
Any questions from the council?
Yes.
Okay, Roy, go ahead.
All right, going back. Joe, how old are these snow removal vehicles?
I could get you the inventory of the fleet, just so you know, like when we do our snow plowing, like this weekend we had the blizzard. By the way, I'll use this as an opportunity just to commend all of our city workers because they did an exemplary job. I drove around on Saturday. If you go to Oceanside, Rockville Center, Town of Hempstead, Nassau County, it pales in comparison to the job that was done by our workers. But put that aside, we have over 70 pieces of equipment that need to be maintained of varying ages. Again, I'll get you that list if you would like. We have it. It's in our, we have a snow emergency handbook, and that includes a list of all of the city's vehicles. So they range, we have obviously newer ones, we have older ones, but they're all required to be maintained. And we do all that work in-house through this budget line. Does that answer your question?
No, here's, I guess, what's bothering me. Again, I understand this was for parts, not the actual repairs, but different parts.
Correct.
And, for some reason, it was an unanticipated expense. You didn't know this was coming, or we didn't know this was coming. And that's what, I'm trying to get it so that we don't get surprised each year with something like this. And, and I'm talking systemically, I'm talking.
No, understood. In this case, from what I understand, a lot of the plows, when they were put back at the end of the season, the end of the spring last year, they were put away and they were broken because they didn't have any money last year. So now they immediately exhausted their line in July as soon as the money became available. The $30,000 that was in the budget to do repairs from last year. So it's kind of like it's rolling into the new year, the repairs from last year, and that's why the line was exhausted. So now, so I think next year, maybe we need 60,000 in that line instead of just 30 to catch up.
But we knew in May when the budget came down that we needed that.
No, that could have been a budget issue, Roy, and that person that did the budget back then is no longer with the city. So that could have been a budget issue at the time, and it wasn't addressed properly.
Yeah,
but what you have to know is that when you do a budget is to the best estimate of what we think that we're going to spend. And then we put money in the contingency so that if we miss something by a mark, we have some extra money in the contingency. What we've told each department head, what Ina and I both have told each department, is that you have to, if you go over based on your budget on line items, you need to find in another line item where to reduce, and so that they can come closer. But I don't think, very rarely, Roy, will we ever match dollar for dollar for what we budgeted for in certain line items like vehicle repairs or any other type of repairs that we will actually have. We will match it, whatever we budget for, that's what we will spend. That's why we transfer money, because what's important to us is that we don't go over budget.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But Joe, I'm sorry, how much did you say was the total line for vehicle repairs?
It started out at the beginning of this fiscal year at $30,000. Apparently that is 100% totally exhausted. So they have no money to do the current repairs on the plows. So with this $30,000 that we're taking from the rentals line, we will be able to continue with the repairs.
So Roy, what I would say to your question, that it is hard to budget for vehicle repairs and to predict vehicle repairs, but the way to minimize vehicle repairs is to invest in the fleet properly, maintain a maintenance schedule, and maintain a maintenance schedule, and then replace the vehicles after they go through their useful life. So your question, the answer to lower vehicle repairs is really to stay on top of maintenance of the vehicle.
No, Karen, that wasn't my question. My question was, and Joe said, the entire budget was $30,000, and we're spending actually $60,000 on it. So, and I definitely agree with you. Maintenance is very important. All of that stuff is very important. All I'm trying to do is get our projections as good as they can be, because
Yeah.
100% wrong on a projection is tough. And it's, thank goodness we had the equipment rental line to take it from.
Yeah, on a $100 million budget, if we go into percentages on this particular line, and that's the art of managing a budget. It's not just a science, it's an art. And that's where you have to have levers in different places. So like Donna said, every year you're learning and improving upon the budget. And so you've made a great point.
And it's also worth noting, we're not spending money we don't have. We're moving money so the overall budget doesn't change.
Mhm.
The past practice often was, spend it anyway, even if we don't have it. We're not doing that anymore. That's why we're doing these budget transfers.
Right. We're still going to need the equipment, though, John.
I'm not saying that. But what we're
Yeah.
doing is at least we're staying within our budget now.
And this is, again, it's year in, year out, the expertise of the department heads working with Donna and Ina, and there's constant revisions in a budget process. So we'll continue at it. Any other questions from the council? Okay, from the public?
No hands raised.
All right.
Okay, on to the voting. So item number 2 is an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding motor vehicles and traffic and vehicles for hire. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli,
Yes.
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Just quick, I want to do a blanket thank you to the staff. We peppered them with a lot of questions again this week on the agenda. So just a blanket thank you for all the resolutions. And yes.
Vice President Treston,
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to accept and execute a grant on behalf of the City of Long Beach from the New York State Department of State. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli,
Yes.
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo,
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes, and thank you, Patty, for getting that grant.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Item 6 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for full-service elevator maintenance and repair from the lowest responsible bidder. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli,
Yes.
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo,
Yes.
Vice President Treston,
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Item 7 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for EMS ambulance billing and collection services from the most responsible bidder. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli,
Yes.
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo,
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes, and thank you, Commissioner Miller, for getting that extra 1% down.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Okay, item 8 is a resolution authorizing the retention of outside counsel. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli,
Yes.
Councilmember Lester,
Abstain.
Councilmember Bendo,
Yes.
Vice President Treston,
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Item 9 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 21-22 fiscal year. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli,
Yes.
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo,
Yes.
Vice President Treston,
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
And finally, item 10 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds for the 21-22 fiscal year. Would you just move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second?
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
We'll make a motion to close the meeting.
I will.
Well,
I'm sorry, who got that?
Roy can have it. I'll take
Okay.
second.
Okay. Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember Bendo.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes, and I just want to thank the staff for again answering the multitude of questions that we give to them so that we can make just great decisions moving forward. Thank you.
President McGinnis.
Yes.
Okay.
I want to congratulate the council. It is 8 p.m. So we hit it right on the money. Now let's move to good and welfare.
Okay, folks, for good and welfare, please use the raise your hand function that's on your screen. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. When your time is up, you'll hear me unmute and you'll hear the beeping from the clock in the background. That means please wrap it up in a sentence or two. All right, we have a few people raising their hands. First, we have Mr. Depper, William Depper. Go ahead, Mr. Depper.
Yes, I just had a question
Liz,
about the elevator.
Liz, I'm sorry, William. Hello. Do we have to state your name and your address here too?
Yes, I will. Hi, this is
Yes,
William.
please.
I'm a Long Beach resident.
Hello.
With the elevators, are parts with these elevators going to be very expensive, and are they going to be something that's going to be a foreseeable problem getting if they're not made in the United States? And also, I just wanted to say about the cleanup here. You guys are doing an awesome job. And I mean, they're working all hours, dumping a lot of snow in the empty lot across from me. And other than that, the only thing I just want to know, is there a doctor that Long Beach uses on staff? I know you have your own attorneys, you know, to make decisions regarding COVID, or do you just go by what the CDC doctors say? And that's really it.
Okay, so Joe Fabrizio has the first question about the elevator in the parks.
If there's any parts associated with the maintenance, it's incorporated in the contract and the responsibility of Dynasty, and there should be no additional cost for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Walsh?
Yeah, so regarding the doctors, Mr. Dupler, the police department has a surgeon, the fire department also has a surgeon. We use them basically for members who get sick, and the police department surgeon also does the citywide. We also consult with those doctors when we're dealing with things like, you know, COVID protocols and things like that, to see how how we're going to handle things from a policy direction. It just helps us to inform our decisions. I hope that's
No,
all.
I'm only asking because, you know, the mandate with the masks, what the governor had, and then what the Nassau County executive went against the governor's orders. So I was just wondering if you
We try to make our decisions outside of the political realm and inside of informed, scientifically based decisions to the best of our ability.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, our next speaker is Judy Vining.
Oh, I unmuted. Hi.
Hi, Judy. Please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm really asking to wonder what the status is of the filing with the Office of Cannabis Management in terms of your opt-out. There's a 45-day requirement from the MRTA law that says that once a municipality opts out, we need to file with the Office of Cannabis Management within 45 days. Our 45 days are up Friday. Have we filed?
Richard Barrios is going to answer that.
Yes, we have.
Oh, yes. Okay, Rich, good. The reason I asked was because there are two sets of tracking data. One is from the Office of Cannabis Management, and the other is from the Rockefeller Institute. The Rockefeller Institute tracks the laws that have opted out. The OCM tracks those that have filed. So when you put the press release out on the city manager, on the website, you need to know that the OCM numbers lag far behind the Rockefeller Institute, which goes county by county, municipality by municipality. So it's about 57% of statewide counties have opted out, statewide municipalities have opted out, and on Long Island, it's over 75%. So, and all of Nassau County, with the exception of the village of Oyster Bay, has opted out. So I just wanted to put that piece out there so you know. I'm glad you filed because that makes me breathe easier. Also want to announce that we were awarded a grant in the amount of $50,000 from the Office of Addiction and Substance Abuse Services. $20,000 of that approximately will go to the fund Long Beach Police Department initiatives at limiting the access of youth to alcohol and other substances. And we're really thrilled that we got it. And I think that's about it from my official hat, from my unofficial hat. Since it's clear that the Haberman project is going to go forward, I would love for you guys to take a look at the possibility of applying to the state for even a pilot project of one side of Broadway, north side perhaps, being resident only parking, because this is an area where I live. So I'm lucky enough to have a spot under my building. But the point is, it's the surfers beach. It's got a concession stand. So the traffic that will come eventually. So I would love you to take a look at what you could do preemptively. Okay, I hear the bell.
Yep, that is your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations on your grant. It's quite an accomplishment, and thank you for all your service to the community. John or Donna or Ron?
Karen, I just want to say thank you to Judy, too. She's been a great partner to the police department over the years. We were on the phone several times today. We're actually working to find new and innovative ways to use some of that grant money, too, to try and really stem the tide of narcotics use in the city. So she's a great partner, and we really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
We'll take your suggestions into consideration. Thanks, Judy.
Hey, that's it.
Okay, everybody, I just want you to know that you can see us back here Thursday, February 10th for our next work session, because the work never stops. And I'll also hope to see you all this Sunday for the Polar Bear Splash.
And don't forget the run on Saturday.
Well, I'll be watching, not running. Okay.